What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back again with another Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever topic I've come up with for the week, and this week is no exception. You can tell I'm a little bit out of practice on all this. Let me get the volume a little bit lower. I really need to dial in these volume levels. That's a bit better, right? Let me see who's here so far. I see Glenn, Peter, Benoit, hey Benoit, and Imo in the chat. I haven't seen the YouTube chat pop up yet, but I did see Ashraz send his regards, saying that he's in Prague this weekend. And Ashraz says, if you're in Prague this weekend, you should write him on the forums if you're there and want to have a meetup. So if anybody wants to have a System Crafters meetup in Prague with Ashraz, then send him a message. Hey, Ed. That'd be pretty funny if there was a Prague meetup for System Crafters. Trev says, is this a Let's Play Skyrim stream? I kind of wish it was, honestly, because it'd probably be a lot more interesting than what I had planned. So, you know, there you go. Nice to see you, Trev, or Treve. I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to see that you're back. Both Trev and Alternate Veg showed up today in the IRC. It seems like a conspiracy of some sort because they haven't been there, both of them, for like weeks now, haven't they? Someone else about to comment on that because I really haven't been there either. What can I say? Benoit says, let's play Skyrim and Tmux. That would be pretty cool, actually. I mean, I guess we could play a mud. Like, you know, good old 1995 mud. It's really good to see you not so sickly, too. What does that mean, dude? Do I look sickly most of the time? I have not been sick in a while. Hey, Artie. Hello, Polymer. I don't get sick that often. What are you talking about? I mean, I do have 2 kids that go to school and they bring home all sorts of viruses, which I guess you do get sick from that, but I haven't been sick in weeks. Right now I have allergies. So, boogers, I don't want to say that word. Benoit says SC equals sick or sick crafters, maybe? Yeah. I guess so. This time of year, it gets pretty gross around the house because of all the school viruses and everything else. But, I mean, who wants to talk about that, really? Because that's just gross. No, you look like a cult leader. I wish I had a cult that would, you know, worship and venerate me. Except for, you know, like what really happens, which is on Fridays, I just get harassed in my own chat the whole time. Hello to, yes, Dominic, Slalom Skater. Okay. So, yes, what have I been doing? I don't know. I've just been playing with, you know, unholy technology the whole week, as usual, you know, as a lot of the world, just letting someone else do all the work for me and just withering away, having my mind basically just turn into goo because I don't use it anymore. That's not true. I'm doing a lot of things with my mind. It's just, you know, the balance of effort has shifted somewhat. Midlife crisis. I guess this is the new form of a developer midlife crisis, or at least this is this is how it happens to us who are in our midlife at this point. You know, we have the crisis of buy a Porsche instead. No, I'm just going to pay $200 a month to use an AI to do everything for me. Why would I buy a Porsche whenever I can sit in my room and watch text scroll on the screen and magic files get made? I don't know. I'm just making light of this whole situation because why not? Buy a Porsche instead. If I were to buy any kind of fancy car, what would it be? I don't even know. I'm not really much for like the fancy luxury items, you know? I'm kind of just happy you know, using crappy old software that barely works half the time. So let's see, what else has been going on these days? Honda Civic, that was my first car actually. I had like a 1989 Honda Civic hatchback, and I destroyed it because I didn't put oil in the engine when it needed to be, and the engine started smoking and basically fused itself, so it didn't work anymore. So yeah, that was my short-lived experience owning a Honda Civic. Yeah, what else is going on here? Filled the gas tank with Monster. I don't think that would actually work. Derailing. Isn't the derailing my job anyway? So you're really just doing my job for me. So like, you're basically the new Claude here. You're just doing the job of me in this case. That's great. Yeah, that's really it. I've been doing a lot of weird stuff with Sigil lately. I've been writing a lot of MCP servers for Claude. A lot of funky stuff that I'm doing with that. Maybe I'll talk about it some other time, but it's been rather fun. I've been abusing the new channels feature that they just released in Claude Code recently to do a lot of interesting things, which maybe I should talk about at some point, but not right now. Let me actually pull up the stream information here. I don't even know who's on. And everything decides to load extremely slowly all of a sudden. What I need is to get like the viewer numbers in my LiveCrafter software so I can actually see what's happening. Okay, there we go. Anyway, Trev says, if my name was Claude, I'd be a 400-year-old vampire. Well, that actually, you know, sounds about right, doesn't it? Okay, let's get into the news. First of all, I didn't know this was happening, but apparently Prat gave a talk called Computing in Freedom with GNU Emacs. It was given at a conference at Oxford University earlier this month. He has a post about it on his blog, which you can't really read because I've got my screen resolution all screwed up here. But the idea is that it's just another, you know, Prat type of talk where he talks about free software and the role of Emacs in that. How long is this talk? Let's see. Okay, 42 minutes. So it's a, you know, a decently length talk. Longer than any talk that I've ever given, except for just rambling for 2 hours on a stream. But based on what I see as the table of contents, it looks like a really interesting interesting talk that I'm interested to watch this weekend while I'm doing something. On Twitch stream is alive, volume is low. Turn up the volume because usually they have it at about half volume on the Twitch viewer. But yes, check out Prat's talk. That seems like a nice talk that he made there. I kind of like his sweater. Interesting sweater he's got. What else? 64-bit Hurd on Geeks. So, you know, people have been thinking that Hurd is like a meme kernel for a long time, which I guess it kind of has been a meme kernel in a way. Like, it hasn't really materialized into something that most people would use. But the people who are, you know, working on Geeks seem to like Hurd a lot, and they're trying to push it forward to make it usable as a kernel option in Geeks. So now we've got 64-bit Hurd on Geeks. You can now install it on the bare metal on an actual device. I don't know what devices are supported for this, but you can install it on bare metal using Geeks 1.5. Thanos asked the same question he's asked me the last 10 times I've saw him, which is a Hurd video win. I don't know. Have you made a Hurd video yet? If you make a Hurd video, I'll just link your video on my channel because I don't know that I'll end up making it. Auntie says, Hurd was a meme, but now with 64-bit, the real joke is coming. Which real joke is that it doesn't work? Anyway, 64-bit Hurd is here. 15 months have passed since our last Geeks Hurd on a ThinkPad X60 post, and a lot has happened. Let's see, not so short Hurd overview of Hurd work over the last 1.5 years. Basically fixing the build daemon, fixing Shepherd, blah, blah, blah. A lot of other fixes. I mean, what's the point? What took you so long? Well, probably because it's not easy. I mean, who would think that that's going to be an easy job? How to install it. Change your 32-bit child Hurd definition, interesting, to 64-bit by adding Hurd 64 QCal2. That sounds like for a VM, though. Okay, Hurd VM configuration. Sure. All right. RumpNet. Okay. Does X work on the Hurd yet? Canonical answer is please read the FAQ. I guess that means no. So what is the point then? I guess it probably works in some cases, but maybe not all cases. Click the link. Click it. That page is not loading or something. Good summary of the current status presented by Samuel Thibault. Okay, there's a talk to watch, actually, which might be interesting to people who are curious about Hurd. The current news or updates on GNU Hurd progress. Rump driver 64-bit SMP software bootstrapping. I'm just going to drop that link in here too. Save it. Cool. Debian GNU Hurd has been a reality for some years now, reaching 75% of Debian packages available for the Hurd. Wow, okay, I didn't know it was that far along. People should be aware that it lacks many packages and services, including Xorg. Okay. So they recommend installing it on Debian if you want to actually have a graphical environment, which is fine, I guess. I mean, we're talking about Tmux today anyway, so do you really need a graphical environment if you got Tmux? Huh? I'm not saying that, Trev. All right, so let's see. Why bother with the Hurd anyway in an earlier post? An obvious question because it's all too easy to get discouraged or downplay or underestimate the potential social impact of GNU and the Hurd. It offers freedom number 0, freedom to run any program as you wish for any purpose, and freedom from the system administrator. What does that mean? Freedom from the system administrator? Aren't you the system administrator of your own system? Connection is timed out. Anyway. Okay. Well, there's another post. Where is it? Hello World virtual machine running in the Hurd. That was in 2020. In the height of the COVID era. So that's a while back. They talk about this post as if it was like, 2 months ago. Or was it in an earlier post? That's stretching the term. Earlier post. Yeah, sure. Literally, it is earlier, but it's kind of way earlier. Already says no system is truly free. I don't know. Is it? It says freedom of the system administrator. This means no administration tasks anymore. If this means freedom from doing administrative tasks, like, taxes and other things, I would definitely switch to using Hurd only in the terminal for that purpose. Benoit says, I think they refer to the earlier multi-user servers. Okay. Thano says, for Hurd terms, it is a recent post. Yeah, you're probably right. All right. Next. So, interesting thing here. I don't know. I mean, this link came from Y Combinator, but basically he's saying that Emacs 31 is getting native frame transposition, which means that I think it's supposed to make it possible to switch around. Let's just go to the actual original post. Whoa, the site is down. What's going on? There's a bad link or something. New window commands for Emacs. Is that a year ago? Okay. Transpose frame. This is for moving frames. Wait, these are already there, aren't they? Hold on. Rotate windows. It's in there, isn't it? Okay, so split. So, yeah, okay. This has already been here. So this is not new news. I got misled. Could it be for frames too? Well, that's what it sounded like. Transpose frame. Frame. Frame, 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 frame. Window layout flip. That's cool. Flip window layout horizontally. I didn't know this kind of thing was possible, but you can kind of flip things around. What about vertically? How does this differ from Ace window? Transpose of frame contents. Thank you, Morgan. That does make a bit more sense in terms of terminology. Flip window layout vertically. Okay, so it actually does work. That's kind of cool. Let me do another split here. How about this? Oh, it works. Well, if you want to move your windows around, then there you go. Big Edie says, curious why Tmux over Emacs, or more directly, what do you get out of Tmux that you don't get from Emacs? Well, we'll talk about that, I guess. I've mentioned it a few times. All right, so let's just get back in here. So I guess that's already there, right? It's already been there, huh? Adi says, kind of what we have in Tmux. Does it have that in Tmux? Let me see if I'm not missing things in the other chats. Okay, yeah, good. So today, is there any other news? Anybody else have any other news items they know about that should be discussed? Thana says, do you have any issues with key binding so far not working in terminal emulators? You mean in Emacs or in Tmux? And hello to Big Edie, by the way. Nice to see you. Big Edie, have you been streaming still? I haven't really been paying attention to anything happening on YouTube. So any other news that people know about? Trev, do you have any big news? Any new, advancements in your life of technology? Big Edie says, I've been swamped lately, been meaning to get back to it. You should, man. It's fun. Fletcher King says, I almost lost 10 pounds now. See what I mean? Totally know what it's... Okay. That seems like some spam to me. See, this is why you need Ashras around. No, we don't really, do we? Yeah, they just wait around looking to see what channel's online. They start spewing crap into the channel. Let me see here. Thanks, Al, says Trev. Yeah, it's all Al's fault. That's for sure. All right. So, back to it. So today I want to talk about Tmux because I've been using Tmux kind of religiously lately. It's become a little bit of a staple of my workflow. Big Edie rightfully asks why I use Tmux over Emacs. Well, Emacs is not really a good terminal emulator when it comes down to it. And also, Tmux has very unique features that you don't really get from Emacs, which is like the ability to reconnect to a running session whenever you like SSH back into a machine. Obviously, you can do things with Tramp to use Emacs remotely from another place, but I feel like that's not really what I want. I kind of want to have a running session somewhere that I can get back into at any time and have it be the main session. So I have a session or multiple sessions of Tmux running on my laptop, and I connect into those from my phone a lot of the time. I basically have a WireGuard VPN that I connect through from my phone to my laptop, and I just jump back into my Tmux sessions. And I also use Mosh, which is a kind of a wrapper over SSH that makes the connections more resilient to disconnects. So you could basically just have a persistent connection running all the time effectively. So I don't know, like I feel like that works better for me. It's not perfect, but I can use Emacs inside of that, which I do. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the really good terminal emulation and window management and session management capabilities of Tmux, plus the ability to use Emacs inside of it whenever you need to. So I don't know, I kind of feel like Emacs is great for what it does, being a productivity environment and having a lot of the same types of features that you have in Tmux, where you can split windows arbitrarily. You can automate the environment, obviously. But when it comes down to it, the terminal emulators that are built into Emacs are not so good when it comes to using advanced terminal applications like Claude Code, which I would say that Claude Code is the type of application that is not written in the most efficient way for displaying things to the terminal. It kind of spams the terminal quite a lot, and that's the reason why it causes trouble with using it inside of Emacs terminal emulators. I mean, the EAT emulator is pretty good, vTerm is pretty good, but still they're kind of janky compared to like a real terminal emulator. So because I'm spending a lot of my time in Claude Code these days, having something that's reliable for, hopefully the stream is back up. It kind of blipped out for a moment there. Let's see what's going on with the YouTube. All right, stream's back, right? All right. And let me see if I can reconnect. Yeah, I don't know what just happened. I'll have to reconnect to Livecrafter too, because apparently it blipped. I think my internet must have gone out for a second. I see, yeah, chat isn't working. I don't know what's happening. Let me refresh chat just in case that's what's going on. Probably not. I'm gonna have to kill Livecrafter, which means the music's gonna go out. So let's just do that for a second. I don't want to stop the stream. Let me see what I can do here without killing everything. Okay. Refresh. We all good here? I think the stream's still up. Okay, good to know. We're back connected to OBS. And then play the music. There we go. All right, somebody say something in the chat. Let me know if it's working. I'll do it myself. There we go. Big Edie slaps everyone around with a bit of trout, large trout. Man, that's such an old IRC thing. Yeah, I all of a sudden I see a message pop up that the stream got disconnected, so that's fun. Anyway, where was I? The point is that Emacs doesn't do as good of a job of being a terminal emulator as an actual terminal emulator or a terminal multiplexer like Tmux. So that's really the reason why I'm using it for my workflows these days. So what I want to do is take a look at. So, okay, let me back up one more and say one other thing. There are two ways to do this. One is okay, you use Tmux, right? And then you continue using Emacs for most everything like you normally would. So you go into Emacs, you use Emacs for your, looking at Git status, Git diffs, editing files, whatever else people usually do in Emacs. I should know that, right? But if you're in an overall environment like Tmux, sometimes you don't want to have to go find where your Emacs window is to go jump back into Emacs to do something. Sometimes you just want to like really quickly open a file or really quickly look at Git status right from where you're at without having to jump around to a different session or to a different window in Tmux, because Tmux has this sort of setup. If you can see down here, let me rename this one. System crafters. So I'm renaming the session to system crafters. This is a session. And then each session has a number of windows at the bottom. So you see that I have the Emacs window. If I use my prefix plus C, then I get another window. So I have two windows here, Emacs and Bash, right? And I can switch between those. So basically what I'm saying is if I'm in a session somewhere and I want to jump back to Emacs to look at a file, well, I have to go, jump back to that thing and then open a file up here, open Git status up here. Maybe I don't really want to do that. Maybe I just want something quick to be able to look at things without having to go right back into Emacs and interrupt what I'm doing. So because of that, today I want to talk about something we've talked about before, but didn't really go into depth on, which is called the pop-ups feature in Tmux, which basically allows you to run an arbitrary terminal application as a pop-up inside of wherever you're at in Tmux to display the contents of that terminal application. And that paired with some really good terminal applications that we have discussed before, like FZF and BAT, and some others that are good for showing Git diffs and ripgrep and all these things, you can really easily make useful overlays that are good for just getting some information really quick and maybe making a quick edit in a file or maybe reading a file really quickly without having to jump back into an existing Emacs session. This is not a replacement for Emacs, mind you. It's just a convenience so that you don't necessarily have to like hunt around for your Emacs session and kind of like go in there and then open things up, because it's like, multiple key presses and commands you have to do in the meantime to get there. Morgan says, I did recently try to save a window configuration in an Emacs server register, then restore it later in a replacement Emacs client, and it didn't restore. I guess I should have been using Tmux. Yeah, it's these things are kind of possible. I mean, I know that Alpha Papa, who we haven't seen in a while, Alpha Papa has some packages for saving and restoring sessions, but I don't really know if it's possible to save and restore into another client. That could be kind of interesting. Anda says, yeah, Emacs still in use. In Tmux, you can run something really fast and move on. Yeah, it's kind of the idea is basically just to have something quick. Whoops. I clicked the message and I forgot that it has this functionality. I'm trying to copy this link of Glenn's because I want to see what's in here. Just make sure that Glenn's not trying to troll me or anything. Ooh. Oh, yeah, the Zalige window with a bunch of stuff in there. That's cool. Zalige is nice too, but I just found that for whatever reason, it just didn't feel as nice to me as Tmux does. Tmux just feels like it gets out of the way. Zalige has a lot of stuff around on the window, and I just wasn't really a fan of its model, I guess. Already says, I'm not trying many new tools nowadays. I end up falling in love with my current config, but I want to hate it a little. Anyone suffered that? Well, I got into a long time where I was just having the same configuration with Emacs and Guix, like 3 or 4 years, basically, without really changing a whole lot. And then I started changing everything, and now the whole foundations of everything have eroded, and it's all different. So it's kind of nice, though. Terminal app is Guilt. I wrote a Git interface kind of. Whoa, really? That's yours? Whoa, okay. Hold on a second. That looks really good, dude. I mean, it looks a lot like Lazy Git. I wouldn't have known that it was different than that. Is that in Common Lisp? What's it written in? Yeah, it must be Common Lisp because I see MC Clem. Nice. Auntie says, Zalige forces you to have all the annoying borders in name, and it crashed out of the blue without a real reason. Yeah, it does with the borders and stuff. Zorg says, what would you expect from Emacs Wayland Compositor now? There's Rekka and EWM. I haven't used either of them yet. Peter says, became a crypto arch user. What's that? What is crypto arch? Anyway. So, pop-ups in Tmux. Pop-ups 101. We're going to learn about pop-ups right now. So, Tmux, the cool thing about Tmux, one of the things I like about it a lot, which is common in a lot of the good kind of, what's the right way to explain this? Scriptable Unix-like programs. I would put like Sway and i3 in that same category, and there's some other ones that are like that where you can kind of configure or script a program using shell commands effectively. Tmux is another one that does that, where the Tmux command that you run at the shell enables you to script a running Tmux session, right? Peter says, a crypto arch user is an arch user which has not come out yet and said that they're an arch user. I used to use arch. I don't really use arch anymore. Artie says, I tried Geeks during your EXWN videos and I gave up quickly. No Geeks for me. Geeks is a blessing and a curse. I don't know, man. I want to get off Geeks for various reasons, just because like it's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, but at the same time, I just can't, because nothing else just does it the way that Geeks does it. So not because I don't like Geeks, it's just sometimes it gets in the way, but other times it gets out of the way in a way that is useful to me. So I don't know, it's contradictory. I know it sounds contradictory. Paren works, I like that. Peter says, Geeks is an acquired taste. It certainly is. So anyway, back to the point. Tmux, if you look at the Tmux command, in fact, I guess I should just do like man Tmux. There's a lot of subcommands in Tmux that are for things like new window. You can create new windows in Tmux on the command line. These often have abbreviations that are make them easier to use. Where's the list of commands? Example Tmux commands. New window, new session, kill window. All right, here they are. Clients and sessions, attached session, attached client, has session. So you can list sessions, list commands. You can look for specific sessions with names. You can do a lot of scripting against Tmux with the Tmux command line program, which I think is kind of nice. It's another benefit of Tmux. I actually solved a problem I was having with Claude Code using Tmux, where there were a couple of cases where it was popping up initial prompts, permissions prompts in Claude Code whenever I would launch it. One for the new channels feature that you have to use like a dangerously used channels, development channels or something parameter, which you always have to accept whenever you start up Claude with that. And then there's another one, like if you start Claude in a new folder, you have to accept that folder. And then for MCP servers as well. Anyway, they always kept coming up, and I wanted to automate it so I wouldn't have to do that or to accept them every time. And it turns out Tmux is a perfect solution for that, because whenever you launch a Tmux window, you can just run commands using normal like sleep in the shell, and then running Tmux commands to like send the keys for pressing enter. You can automate getting past those prompts. So it has value in a number of ways. You can automate terminal programs with it, basically. You can read the contents of the screen from terminal programs. You can do all kinds of stuff. So point being, Tmux is quite scriptable if you want to automate certain things in the terminal or do general session management in interesting ways. So that being said, the command that we're looking for here is called display popup. And it says, display a popup running shell command. Let me zoom this in a little bit, actually. Display a popup running shell command or default command with a minute on target client. A popup is a rectangular box drawn over the top of any panes. Panes are not updated while a popup is present. You should keep that in mind. The things that are happening under it are not updated. If the command is run inside an existing popup, the popup is modified. Let's see. You can set the width and height either by columns and rows or by percentage. Let's see. You can set border lines, apparently. It's the type of characters used for drawing pop-up borders. Anyway, basically you can do your own custom little overlay UIs with pop-ups in Tmux. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to try to look at how we can use pop-ups to, excuse me, do quick actions in a Tmux session. So if I were to just to do this as an example, I could use display pop-up and just say Vim. Let's say Vim, because we want to just do Vim. And it basically just pops up Vim as a pop-up window over what I'm doing. Now I can't actually interact with the stuff that's under this because now it's kind of paused, let's say. Everything that's under there is paused. But I can go into the Vim session and start, making edits to a file, whatever I want to do. I'm trying to use Emacs key bindings now. And then if I exit the session, then that pop-up goes away and everything comes back. Dono says, I knew that. Which part did you know? Probably something. Trev, come to Geeks. You need more parentheses in your life. That's why. Trev says, Thanos, I'm on Geeks. And Thanos says, I knew that. Okay, I'm glad we're all communicating. We're all on the same page here. Benoit says, missing packages plus issues loading more than one repos in my config kind of killed my Geeks energy. I'm even out of Nix these days. What are you using, Benoit? Are you using Arch? I always consider going back to Void again. I don't know why. Void or something else. OpenBSD is always a possibility, but if I use OpenBSD, then I can't really use a lot of Linux software anymore, or any, let's say. Benoit says, Arch, thinking of using Fedora. Fedora is pretty good, actually. It's pretty solid, I would say. I use it before switching back to Arch and, what's it called? Oh my God. It starts with M. And it's a distro that's made it off of Arch. Manjaro. I was using Manjaro after using Fedora and Arch. And then went to Geeks. That's what happened. Yes, Manjaro, thank you. Man, I'm getting old. My brain didn't work there for a second. Gentoo, I tried Gentoo whenever Trev was trying to get me to try Gentoo, and it didn't go so well. I've used Gentoo before many years in the past, but oh hey Ashraz, I thought you were gone somewhere, dude. Anyway, so back to this example. Current pane path, pop-up anchored to the current pane, which is kind of nice. Manjaro after Arch. Yeah, I wanted something a little bit more user-friendly, I guess. It looked cool, so I decided to try it. Manjaro messed up their certificates twice. Yes, I remember that. I was around when one of those happened. Benoit says, I was on Gentoo before Geeks and Nix. DSL says, I use Slackware since 2010. Slackware is awesome. I would love to use Slackware, but I just don't think... I don't know that it's going to be the kind of thing that I would use now. Like, it would seem like a step backwards, even though it seems really cool. I use Slackware. Slackware was my very first Linux distribution back in, like, 1997, I think. Benoit says I left Slackware in 98. It hadn't existed very long before then. But yeah, it was like 96, 97. I was using Slackware. So, yes. Too long ago. I used Slackware for a while, and then eventually those more user-friendly Linux distros showed up, like, what was it called? Mandrake. Mandrake Linux. You could buy it in a box at Walmart, which is kind of amazing if you think about it. In like 1999, you could buy Linux in a box at Walmart. Maybe it was 2000. Anyway. All right, so anyway, you can anchor a pop-up to the current pane, which basically means you're setting the working directory of the pop-up to whatever the current pane is, so that whatever you run is in the context of the directory of the current pane, which is pretty useful if you're in a program and its working directory is set to a certain location and you want to open a file that's in that location. It would actually work. Andy says, you can try Dragonfly BSD. I keep hearing about that one, but I've never really looked into it. All right, so file browser pop-up. Browse and preview files with FZF and BAT. Big Edie says, I used Slackware in the early aughts because Patrick Volkerding was awesome and personally helped me out when I was 13. Wow, that's cool. That's nice. I've never spoken to Patrick before. So we looked at FZF and BAT maybe a couple months ago, I guess. FZF is basically a fuzzy find program. It's kind of like a mini buffer for the terminal in a way, because it allows you to do matching over lists of items. You know? Ashra says, friend of mine just switched from Windows to Nobara. He's currently fed up with Fedora's decision about age indication. Will probably switch to CachyOS on his own. Yeah, that's a whole big thing. He bought you beer? Yeah, that's not a good idea. Anywho, display pop-up. The command we would be using in this is fzf, okay? Let me see if I can do this kind of step by step. I'm going to paste it in, but I'm going to delete some things. I'm just going to use fzf at first, okay? And first of all, we need to do a Geek shell. In fact, let's do Geek shell fzf bat, because I don't know if I have them in my profile yet. We'll just put them in here like this. All right. Now, Tmux display pop-up. Are you serious? Let's go back here. Control Y. Hey, why did I lose everything? Whatever. All right, so. Okay, so I didn't have anything to list. So that's why it did that. Let me preview bat color always. Is it because of the brackets? Is that why it's not doing anything, or am I mistaken on that? Let's see. Nope. Nope. All right. Obviously, I don't know how to use fzf very well. Let me see. Preview bat bind enter. Oh, we pipe things into it. Got it. All right. So let's do that then. This is pretty stupid to do. Wait, what? You need to add a directory? Do I? I don't think so, right? This should be the current directory. Git diff. Git log one line FCF preview. Let's try that anyway, huh? What folder am I in? It's interesting that it's not working. Display pop-up D dash E is open and closing so fast. I think it's not working. You need to quote the command instead of the FCF command. You're right. Preview dash. Maybe do I need to use the preview thing? Nope. Let's copy one of the ones that I know works. I tried some of these earlier and they did work. So let's go back and just copy one. Yes, Claude helped me with these commands. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Because would you rather me just like stumble around and try to write it from scratch whenever I could stumble around and try to run the ones that Claude wrote for me? So it's closing on its own every time. I don't know why. Well, maybe FCF has a problem here. Okay. That's fine, right? There we go. Let's just try this. So by itself, this works. Well, yes, it is like that. Didn't preview though, which is kind of interesting. I've seen it work before. The teacher asking Dave if his parents helped him with his homework. Yes. There we go. That's the way it works for this. But that's not popping up in the pop-up though. Tmux display pop-up. D. I'm not even going to worry about the current pane path. Invalid flag. Okay, that didn't work. It popped up a shell. Okay, no D. I think the D is the problem. FCF not found. Now that's interesting. It's almost like it's not pulling it up in the in the Geek shell? Is it -E? You need the environment variables? Why is it failing? 127. All right, let's see what that is. Man Tmux. -E closes the pop-up automatically when the shell command exits. So that explains that. Let's see. -D is start directory. Target client. -E is environment. Okay, so it gives you display pop-up. LS works fine. Sure does, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. I think something's wrong with that command. It shouldn't be -E. So why is FCF not found? It is found. So it must be like See, I'm in the learning process here too, people. I'm learning how to do this. It's weird that's not picking up FCF. It's almost like it's running it in a shell that's not picking up the environment at all. There's another little geeksism that we have to deal with here. Cmux. I do not, Thanos. I'm in a geek shell. It shouldn't matter though because the environment variable should be getting picked up. Let's see. Pop-up is a rectangular box drawn over the... Yeah, whatever. E closes the pop-up automatically when shell command exits. B doesn't surrounded by a border. Pop-up title. C flag close any pop-up. It's really weird. I think that's a problem though, Auntie, is that it is running it like that. It's running it in a separate shell, so we don't have access to it in the environment. But I wonder if I do this, if it will help. Nope. All right, so how about this? So that worked, sort of. All right. Now, does it work? It doesn't work with bat. Okay, so that works. Oh boy. All right, and then we're gonna put the widths back in, the width and the height. I can't read my keys. No old man jokes. All right, so there we go. Now we're making a little bit of progress. It's kind of stupid I have to do this, and it's only because I'm using it in the Geek shell, and I don't have these programs installed in my my home profile. If I did have them installed normally, then I wouldn't have to use which just to find the full paths of these before I hand it off to the subcommand. So let me put the current path back in. And the -E probably is okay to use now, I think. I'll use -E right here. I press escape, it exits, all right. And this is in the same folder. So if I were to cd into projects code, whoops, and then do the same thing again, then it goes into the right folder. So cd crafted Emacs. Then I'm inside of crafted Emacs, so init. All right, there we go. So we can kind of take a little preview on some files here. Got it. Ashra says, you can't read your keys. Seems like you're currently locked in. Where? I don't think the stream's having problems now, Big Edie. Hopefully it isn't anyway. All right, let me check on what Nicolas is saying. cmux.com. The terminal built for coding agents. I see. Is this a terminal or is this an IDE? What is this? It's got browser tabs in it. In-app browser, split panes, scriptable. And it's only on Mac OS, eh? Ashrad says, keys, locks. Yes, you're a little bit ahead of me, okay? I'm not really... The YouTube delay is real. Yeah, don't watch it on YouTube. Ashra says, Thano says, Agent Shell is worth taking a look at as well for Emacs LLMs. Yeah, I mean, it's good. All right, anyway. So we got it working finally. Point is, we're able to pop up a window to quickly look at files under the current folder. Like if I want to look at this comp config file, I could just kind of quickly look at it. If I press enter, I think it just gives me the path back. So you would have to have some kind of action that occurs after you select the item. Maybe BAT doesn't let you do that, but if you want to edit one of the files, open a file in your editor via FZF, pop-up closes when you're done. Okay, got it. So bind, enter, become. So there's a... What is open router? Nicolas says, I'm angling toward an agent shell, open code, open router setup. That sounds interesting. So if I were to... All right, I guess that's what something FZF does. Let me just grab the end of this. Which part is it from? Not part of BAT. It's after the BAT invocation. Color always. All right, and then I'm going to drop this right here. Enter becomes, I'm just going to say Vim here. My other screen went asleep. 1 second. Love that happen when it happens. See you, Ashraz. All right. So I screwed up the quoting at the end of that command. All right. So if I press enter on the gitignore, then it turns into Vim. That's actually pretty useful. It's a service proxy with some decent polity. Okay, got it. It's like it's an LLM proxy. All right, so if you add this bind at the end, what happens is, this is something you're passing to FZF. It's a parameter for FZF. When you preview, it shows you using some application. In this case, it's the application called BAT. It's a preview that, for whatever's selected on the left side, it runs a program to display something on the right side. And then whenever you select something here and press enter, this bind, you're binding the enter key to make the current program become Vim with whatever the selected file is. So if I press enter here, it bops into Vim with the selected file. So that's actually kind of useful. Now, you would have to obviously have that set up to be a key binding. Otherwise, it's not that useful. But that's what we would try to do a little bit later. Ani says, Vim, you mean in Vim, right? Well, if you're not really customizing, Vim, does it need to be Neo Vim? I don't know, like if it just needs to be regular old Vim, it's probably fine if it's not Neo Vim. Is there any benefit to using Neo Vim if you're not just using anything other than plain Vim functionality? That's my question. All right. Diff viewer. It has to be in Vim. Why? I don't believe you. All right, so there's some diff viewers you can look at too, which are kind of nice. is Lua and Lua rocks. Okay, sure, Lua rocks, but if you're not customizing it, then what's the point? I'm back to my original complaint. Let's see, Git Delta. I know is one of the things we're going to try to use here. Lua is great, that's for sure. I mean, it's an interesting language. Solaris 7.5 for the win, says Ed. Those are the days. All right, so we're going to use another program called Delta here. We're going to load up a git diff of the current repository, which actually there isn't one right now, but we're going to, excuse me, we're going to run it anyway. And it's going to give us some bunk output. But let's go to the .files folder, run that command again, and what are you talking about? There's stuff in there. Look at that. There are changes. Oh, is it the same thing again, though? We got to do which. There it is. Okay, so this git delta, I believe, is a program that makes git diffs look better. It kind of does the inline thing where you're seeing kind of the edits inline in a way that is better to look at than the normal git diff view, okay? And we're piping that through less to make it so that you can kind of scroll through and search and stuff too, so show, which is kind of nice actually, if you think about it. Git delta is awesome, says Auntie. I've literally never used it before until today, so it's a kind of a nice thing to me as well. So, not bad. Auntie says it works for any file. It doesn't need to be git commits. That's cool. I actually like that idea. You can just diff anything. So, that's another thing you could do. You can show git diffs as a pop-up. So instead of pulling up Magit or LazyGit or anything else, if you just want to see what the diff is for the current folder or the current file potentially, you could do a diff on that. There's another example here, which is a git log with diff preview. Now, what's different about this? I think we're looking at the actual git history. This is pretty sweet. So check this out. And it says you can configure it how you like it, like EZA, for example, without the lines. I haven't used EZA. I think we looked at it briefly on a stream one time recently, but I didn't really get back to it. Ed says, are the bad things happening because you started Tmux outside the Geeks environment? No, I'm using Geek Shell to install some of these programs, and I don't have them in my actual profile, so I have to jog it a little bit to make it work. I have to tell it the actual path to the store or to my profile to use, which is not what a person would normally have to do. But once again, because I'm using Geeks, this is one of the things I have to deal with. All right, so in this case, I can actually scroll through my list of my commits in the current repo. And then I can use my mouse, I think, to even scroll through the diffs here, which is kind of cool. You can scroll through this and then scroll through the diffs. So, I mean, you get a pretty decent interface already just by having this as a pop-up. And I could pull this up anywhere, really. If I had this bound to a key binding, I could go to any of these windows and pop that up right from the location where it's at. So pretty useful, I think. That's for git diffs. For git status, quick at-a-glance view of the working tree state. We can do the same thing here. Auntie says it's like a fast preview with a pop-up. Yeah, that's kind of what I want, because a lot of times I don't necessarily need to be sitting in an editor to do this stuff. I just need to like quickly look at it. Just to kind of get a sense of what's happening. All right, and this is just basically giving me the status of the current repository. So I can just kind of see what the git status is, which is great. It makes it a bit smaller, I think, because it doesn't need to... What does read do? Oh, is it read a key and then exits? Okay, maybe that's what it is. Or you can use FZF to browse the changed files with a diff preview, which is also cool. Use git status -s to get a list of the changed files and then take a look at those. I'll have to go and edit the stupid command names again. No boring borders or annoying colors, really snappy. Yeah, it is nice. It just pops right up. And this is kind of why I wanted to do this, because I think that there's something to it, you know? Like, it's nice to be able to just pop up something and take a look at it. So here I'm just scanning through the list of files. I mean, this is kind of like what you would do in Magic anyway. You would just kind of look at what files are here. Now, I wouldn't be doing any staging here, because I don't have to, because in this case, I'm usually using Claude, and Claude will do all the commits for me. But if I wanted to look at what it's been doing before I let it commit something, I could pull up a view like this just to kind of scan through the files. Oh, look at there. There's a goobar script in here, Trev. It never got committed. So yeah, you can just kind of take a look at the diffs. You can define an alias in your shell and run the pop-up really fast. Yeah, you could do the alias or just, you know, have a key binding, which we'll take a look at in a minute. Grep and search. You can use rip grep and preview matches in context with bat. Let's see how complicated this one is. So here we're going to run rip grep, and we're going to pipe that through FZF. The delimiter is colon, I'm guessing because of the way that the lines are split. Preview bat, we're going to use bat again for previews, and then in the end, we're going to pipe it through to an editor. So you can do grep over the whole folder structure really quickly with rip grep, and then edit the file that you find, which I think that would be one that I would probably want to use in a lot of cases. So I'm going to put vim here. And here I need to do which bat. And here I'll do which fuzzy find. Rip grep I already have in my path, so I don't think I need to change that one at all. All right, let's see. All right, so what I want to say here, dunst. I type in dunst, and it's too fuzzy. All right, I wonder if I have to use like an actual, How do you get it to not fuzzy match? The interesting thing is it's returning a whole bunch of results already, and it's not passing what I'm typing into rip grep itself. Is it because... Okay, that worked. Is it going based on words only? Okay, well, it's doing something. Then I can jump through the files here based on the locations I'm finding things, and press enter to go into that file into Vim. Okay, so that actually does work. It's not the way that I expected it to. Oh, there's use. Yeah, see, look, it's just like grepping over the whole path. It seems wrong though. I think it should be only pulling the stuff before the delimiter or after. Peter says, got it, can't find the commands because they run in the Tmux app, which is not in the Guix shell. Yeah, it's probably part of the issue. It's just that it's not inheriting the environment correctly. At least that's what it seems to be in my case. Experience BFOTO. I'm not sure what that means. All right. So that's grepping. Now, key bindings. If you want to bind this stuff to a key in the Tmux configuration, there's the bind command. Bind F, bind E. This is just binding things inside of the prefixes, right? And then you just put the normal command that you would have put on the command line already. You just replace the Tmux part with bind whatever. So you could do bind D. But what is D already attached to? I think it's detach, right? So I wouldn't want prefix D because that will remove my ability to detach. It's not inheriting because Tmux is above the Tmux shell and process hierarchy. Interesting. Okay. So let's look up Tmux key bindings. I think these are kind of bogus. Let's see. Man, Tmux bind. Blinding flash of the obvious. Gotcha. Bind key command or run from the shell prompt. Okay, so bind key C. bind X. Oops. All right. Bind key. What's the difference between bind and bind key? If I find the command listing, I might learn this distinction. Copy mode. Bind key. Key bindings. All right. Tmux allows a command to be bound to most keys with or without a prefix key. When specifying keys, oh, you're right, Peter. The Tmux commands are doing IPC to the Tmux instance running the session. That's why. 100%. That's exactly why. Because we're piping the action that the command line, the Tmux command line is receiving from you, the user. We're piping that to the existing running Tmux session. That Tmux session does not have access to the Geek shell that I'm in currently, so it can't see it. That's why. Okay. Thank you, Peter. All right. When specifying keys, most represent themselves. For example, capital A to Z. Control keys may be prefixed with control or caret. Shift keys with S and Alt meta with M. Sounds like Emacs. In addition, the following special key names are accepted. All right. Bind key. Bind key to command. Keys are bound in a key table. By default, without -T, the key is bound to the prefix key table. All right, so you can have different key tables, like the key maps. But by default, it binds to the prefix key. And the prefix key is the kind of default key map that everybody uses in Tmux, like Control B, I think is what it is by default. I use Alt O for mine, and I kind of like that one better. It's easier to hit for me. All right, so if you do bind to C, is bound to, by default, C is bound to new window in the prefix table. So Control B C creates a new window. The root table is used for keys pressed without the prefix key. Binding C to new window in the root table means a plain C will create a new window, which you probably don't want because it's going to get in the way of your programs that you're using. Let's see. -N is an alias for -T root. Hi, Anzi buddy. Keys may also be bound in custom key tables, and the switch client -T command used to switch from them to them from a key binding. So you can have your own key maps, and you can switch to them based on Tmux commands that you run, which is kind of interesting. The -R flag indicates this key may repeat. See the initial repeat time and repeat time options. I guess if you're like using arrow keys, probably that makes sense. -N attaches a note to the key, which gets displayed. That's kind of nice. The -R and -N flags can be used without command to alter an existing binding. All right. So that's for bind key. But what about plain bind? Okay, plain bind is just an alias. So bind key is the thing. So in this case, what we're seeing is bind D binds this delta pop-up. I kind of think that's not the right thing. I would actually probably use a control key to do these special key bindings that we're doing ourselves. Excuse me. There are a lot of normal prefix plus control something. There's a lot of those already, but not too many. You probably have a lot of options to choose from. There's also a lot of alt options to choose from. But if you want to use like a normal letter, there aren't so many. So like capital D and lowercase d are both taken, so you can't do that for diff. P, lowercase p is used, but capital P is not used, it seems. What about G? Lowercase g is not used. Capital G is not used, so that you can probably use that for some Git stuff. What are we using? G is a pop-up for, it says you can also bind keys in bash to run Tmux commands, so you don't need to hit the Tmux command key at a shell prompt. You can also bind keys in bash to run Tmux commands. That's kind of cool. So I think I can even do this from the terminal to test it out. So this git status one, we can go in the terminal and run this. Let's go in this other terminal. I'm going to leave the man page up. So first of all, we need to fix the beginning of it. In fact, let me just make this a single line. I'll use Tmux bind G, display pop up, get status, fuzzy find. Oh, which? And then we're gonna do which on Delta also. That's just for geeks. Those of you who are looking at this, you don't need to do this yourself unless you're using Geeks in the way that I'm doing with Geeks Shell. No FZF. Ah, okay, I'm not in the shell here. Geeks Shell, FZF, bat, get delta. There we go. Let's run that again. Now, oh, it didn't get the right command. Let me copy this right here. I'm gonna copy all that text. It didn't have it in its Git history. There we go. Now it bound G. So if I use my prefix key, which is Alt-O, and then press G, then it pops up that Git status. Now it's not showing up in the right place, which is kind of interesting. Current pane path, Git status, which FCF, which delta, Git diff. Kind of weird, right? Let's see. That's probably not the right thing to do. Oh, I'm not in a folder that has Git status. That's why. Let's go back, put that back. We'll go back to projects, code, crafted Emacs. All right, so how about that? Alt-O-G puts me inside of here. Okay, cool. So Alt-O-G, and I already have like a Git status view, right? Yes, Ed, you caught it because the YouTube stream is late, but it is the right thing. Hello, DPX. All right, so what was another good folder to use? Lambda Dungeon. There we go. That's a great folder to use. I'll use Alt-O-G here, and I can kind of see all the files. I can sort of browse through the Git status on those files. That's cool. All right. So that's one. That was for Git status. There's also Git diff, which is just for the whole diff. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of useful on its own. Git status versus Git diff. Find and edit is probably one that I would use just because you kind of want to just like take a look at a file real quick. Is there an F? Yeah, meta O F is search for a pane. A meta O, there's no capital F, so maybe that's one to use. Or an O, there's no capital O. Meta O O. I could try that. So let's do this. Become editor. I'll just make this Vim. I could make an Emacs client, but then we're gonna go back to. We'll end up going back to the problem we started with. Which is you have to end up in the right pane, the right window for Emacs. All right, so Tmux bind capital O, Alt-O, capital O. Now, inside this folder, I can say .scm, media, and press enter, and then there I am. I'm in a Vim buffer. Right? I think it's a lot faster than like hunting around for the Emacs screen in Tmux and then trying to just jump into the file in Emacs because there's a lot more key presses involved. I think this is probably good just for quick viewing. Okay, this is like quick previews. We're just trying to get into a file, look at it, make a quick edit, and get back out again, and then move on with what we were doing. Okay, that's kind of the idea I have in mind. Because like I said, I'm in Claude code a lot of the time, for better or for worse. And sometimes I just need to quickly look at a file and edit it and then go back to what I was doing and not tie things up too much, right? And Vim is a good editor for that just because it just opens up and it gets out of the way. Tree string 4 says, is there any upside to using Tmux instead of multiple terminal processes, Emacs buffers? There's a lot of upsides because you could do very good session management, have multiple panes, that are very easy to get through key bindings. Sure, you can say you can do the same thing in Emacs, but the terminal emulation experience in Emacs is not the best. If you're not using apps like Claude Code, then probably it's fine to use Emacs for terminal emulation. And I had done it quite a long time, but Claude Code kind of breaks everything because it's a little bit heavy on the terminal interaction. It says if you run find Tmux Center extended preview instead of Tmux Popup, does it fix the path thing? Huh. Does it have its own Tmux thing? It doesn't give me man page. Shell integration. Tmux. Start FZF in a Tmux Popup. Wow, okay, that's cool. So it kind of has its own integration. Probably it doesn't help though with... It's a good question, actually. Let's see. That's a good question. Let me just do this. FZF. Tmux. First, I'll take the... Well, no, okay. Let's do that. Let's put the wish back in at first. What did I miss? I think I didn't put... There we go. Okay, so that did actually work. And bat is loading up correctly. Okay, interesting. The output said I can give it the size parameters. The music stopped. Anyway. Tmux equals options. Center, top, bottom, left, right, size, percentage, size, percentage. All right, so basically it's center, comma, 80%, comma, 80%. Okay, so that actually does look pretty good, but can you bind that easily though? Let's try. So we're not going to bind display pop-up. Are we going to display? We're going to bind executing a command. Is that what's going to happen here? Execute shell command using the default shell. Okay. Cache client. Okay, the music stopped, didn't it? Somebody tell me. I think my oh, you know what? Music stopped. I think oh, right. Okay, that's funny. Live Crafter crashed at some point. Let me restart this. There we go. It crashed for a very strange reason. And the chat should come back up in a second. Let me go back here and page. Okay, there we go. Cool. Message pop-up doesn't work. Now it's back. I had a random error that popped up that was expected pair. There was apparently, it didn't come back as a list anymore. Unexpected errors in the code. Okay. So what we're looking for is how to have a Tmux key binding just execute an arbitrary command, because I mean, FZF has its own kind of built-in integration here with Tmux, and it's kind of nice. The new death metal music. I wish there was death metal music. Start server, rename session, refresh client. Spin, switch. Next word, pipe. Copy mode. Choose tree. Put a pane into a tree, into tree mode. Okay, interesting. Customize mode, display panes, find window. Split window, swap pane, key bindings. And prefix. Is it run? Thank you. Run. I would think there had to be something like that, right? All right, let's take a look. Manually copy from the YouTube chat. Oh, did someone say the YouTube chat? Let me see who said it. Ed said run. Okay, sorry, Ed. The stupid chat integration was not connected. Let me pull that back up again. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Run. So Tmux bind. O run. Probably has to be in quotation marks. Not right. Where is the run command? Haven't seen one yet. That hook. I'm missing something about that. Hello, Rasmus. Thank you. Bind key control Y run. Yeah, I would think that that would work, right? Display menu. Run shell. Alias run. Execute shell command using bin shell. A Tmux command in the foreground without creating a window. Oh, you know what? It's the same problem. Same problem. Because it's running it in a shell, I have to go back and put which again, which doesn't really help in the end. I think. Yeah, FZF. Who knows what's going on there? I think maybe the original approach is better, but it does work. All right, prefix slash search for rip grep. That's kind of an interesting way to search. But anyway, I think it's nice to have helpful pop-ups like this be at hand whenever you're in a session inside of Tmux, mainly because you will probably be in a window somewhere where you won't have easy access to Emacs without having to jump back to another session or another window. So why not just have something where you can just pop it up really quick and fuzzy find the file that you're looking for and be done with it? You know, you just need to look at something really quick and copy some text maybe and be finished. That's what I've been looking for. I just never got around to doing it yet, and this is apparently how you do it. Benoit says, could you source a file all the time? Well, the best solution would just be to install these programs in my profile. Minas Mazer says, Tmux just need is a solid launch platform for Emacs. Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm using Emacs inside Tmux right now. It's just fine. Something says, you like Tmux over Zlige? Yes, I like Tmux better than Zlige. I've used Zlige a few times, and honestly, I'm not that crazy about it. You know, it's cool. It's not bad. But at the same time, Tmux, when I started using Tmux again after using Zlige, I just felt like Tmux made so much more sense to me. It was so much simpler and more straightforward. And just kind of felt like it had the right features that I wanted. Auntie says, yeah, Tmux is way better than the Rust thing. Nicolas says, IAWTC Zmux is greater than Zlige. If I was to something, there's a lot of acronyms floating around today that I don't know what they are. Let's see, useful links. So yes, there's this tmuxai.dev site, which talks about Tmux pop-ups. Let's see, popup.epingoogle.com. Sure, that's exactly what I would like to do with, oh, wait, hold on. Oh, right, with the colon, you can execute arbitrary commands, right? What did it say? -e ping systemcrafters.net. There you go. Boom. Default shell, open just htop. I would do that too, like basically having htop or btop being in a pop-up. Excuse me. Oh, I agree with that comment. Thank you, Niklaus. Anyway, yeah, running htop to kind of see what's going on with your processes whenever you've got 15 Claude instances and they're taking up all your CPU usage. Pop-up visualization. That's not what it looks like. Quick file browser, system monitoring, custom size pop-up, quick note-taking, yeah. Get status pop-up. It's all the same stuff we've already been looking at. Pop-ups can also run Tmux commands to display information about your session. That's interesting. You don't need that though, because you already got the key bindings in like Alt-O-W. You got all this. You can even see previews of your windows. So why would you need this pop-up to do the same thing? Because I think this is much better. In fact, when I'm monitoring things that are happening across multiple windows, your prefix key was usually Control-B, and then W brings up a nice preview mode where you actually see what's going on in the session as it's happening. So you can kind of monitor multiple sessions without really having to hit the key bindings to jump back and forth between them. And it also goes across sessions. So if I were to detach from this, which is prefix key D, and then run Tmux again, it's going to create another new session. So I can say prefix $sign to rename the session to boo. And then if I make another window here with bash, I'll say lsal or whatever. Then if I use prefix key W, I can look at all of these across the sessions. So I've got both sessions, system crafters and boo, and all the windows that are in those sessions. I just kind of like scroll through. It says Tmux capture pane is pretty cool. Is that the one where it basically gives you the output of the pane? That can be really useful for screen scraping, for sure. And AI agents can use that pretty well, actually. So there you have it. Is there any other program that I haven't thought of that would be useful to put in here in a pop-up? Obviously, you could put Emacs in a pop-up, but then why would you want to? You could just be in Emacs. Oops. I meant to say Tmux A. There we go. NeoVim, it's the same, Auntie. It's the same. What's different about it than just using Vim? It's the same. You know, I did actually make a simple NeoVim config. I don't think I've got it on this machine yet. I haven't really been using it, but I don't know. Like, I'm experimenting with the idea of using NeoVim as a nicely configured, minimal editor experience. But I haven't gotten back to that yet. I managed to get my AU dark theme. He's using NeoVim by Summer. I'll be using NeoVim only as like a quick view and edit program. Obviously, I'm not even really using Emacs, so I'm going to use Vim more, or NeoVim more. Winnie Gold says, I still use Vi. I mean, you could use Vi for sure. It's just not quite as nice. You changed. We used to be parasocial friends. Yes, well, you know, everything has changed. What can I say? Everything has changed. The whole world is different now. You could say for the better or for the worse. I don't really know. I can't really give a fair shake to that. Why no Ed? We tried Ed. When he says, it's pre-installed and I don't do programming much, so no need for highlighting. Yeah, it's not a bad reason. Benoit says, new SE series, how I replace Emacs with Tmux and NeoVim. Yes, there might be a series about using Tmux. I don't know if I would say I would replace Emacs because I don't really want to, like, you know, make it sound like I'm abandoning things, even though I kind of am in a way, but not really because I'm still using Emacs. But I type very little in Emacs right now, so, you know, how much can you say that I'm using it? I'll tell you another thing I did. I didn't push it to this machine yet, but I got pin entry to stop prompting me in Emacs and prompt me in Tmux with a pop-up instead. That way, wherever I am in Tmux, the pin entry prompt pops up in front of my face instead of me having to go hunt for the Emacs window that has pin entry set up correctly, and then by the time I find it, the prompt is already timed out. So yeah. Andi says, we use right tool for the job. NeoVim and Emacs can be used from the same host without drama. Yes, well, we'll see. There's plenty of reasons for there to be drama about tool choices whenever I've been talking about Emacs and Geeks for years. When he says you use Evil Mode, I used to use Evil Mode and then I dropped it, and I've been using normal Emacs key bindings for a long time. And honestly, what I would really like is a minimal Emacs that uses Emacs key bindings and only is an editor and doesn't do all the other fancy stuff. I guess there are some like that, but they're not really so good. I would kind of like to have syntax highlighting at the very least. Peter says, just normal pin entry also pops up where you need it. Does it pop up in Claude though? That's kind of the problem I have. When he says, I tried Ed, it made sense for when there were only printers before screens. Yeah, Ed definitely makes sense for teletype machines. Peter says, sometimes it takes a while if your keyring dbus service is wonky. Yeah, I think just doing the pop-up is good. I also got it to where sudo, if you use askpass with sudo, that can also pop up as a prompt, as a pop-up in Tmux. I haven't used that one yet, though. But yeah, like, are there any minimal Emacs with syntax highlighting? Is there anything like that? Minimal Emacs alternative. No! Lightweight Emacs-like editors. Okay, cool. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. I don't really care about Lisp configuration. I just want something that works. Xyle, I think, has changed now. Emacs. Is it the one that Linus Torvalds uses? Yes, that's Linus Torvalds' special Emacs, which he has not committed to in forever. Maybe he doesn't need to be committed to. Who knows? Is that even in Geeks? No. Is it micro Emacs? No. Okay. So Jed. Drop down interface. That doesn't sound like what I want. Joe. Oh, wait, what? Hold on. Joe's own editor. MG. Does MG have syntax highlighting though? I think that the last time I looked at MG, it did not have syntax highlighting. Portable version of the OpenBSD maintained MG micro Emacs clone. Let's see. Geek search. MG. I'm pretty sure it's in there, right? Yeah. I mean, that could work. Yeah, no syntax highlighting. Trev says, I use MG sometimes. It has meta G, which is kind of interesting. Scheme. Does it have modes? I guess that's... Oh, it has C mode. I have some C code somewhere. What? Wow, it even has a Deerhead-like thing. That's kind of nice, actually. All right, so packages. Wow, that's cool, dude. Peter says Emacs client is pretty snappy for quick edits. Yeah, it could work. It could work. It's not the worst. Sigil lib. Source. Compiler.c. C mode. No syntax highlighting. But maybe that's it, though. Maybe I really should just be using Emacs client in the case where that needs to be done. It's crazy that Microsoft is using Sigil in production now. Yeah, no. Probably that is the right way to go. Even running Emacs client and pulling up Magit as a pop-up is probably a good idea. Do you use STM? What is that? I don't know. Sigil in production by Benoit J. Yeah, I wouldn't put that on Benoit. All right. I guess the problem is you can't really run... Can you do Emacs client to a specific working directory? Software transactional memory? I don't know. I've heard the term before. The cover arc would be a demonic entity. Yes, it would be basically like a golem that was created from some satanic, what am I looking for? Rituals? Yeah, satanic rituals, let's say. But it's a golem that works pretty well, actually. Just to prove the point. If you look at the Sigil org on Codeberg, there's kind of a lot of stuff here now. A few different MCP servers, some libraries for different services. And probably there will be a lot more here once I start splitting out a lot of the stuff that's in the Sigil repo itself, because there's a lot of libraries stashed in there. So a lot of things coming out of this project. We'll see. Peter says STM is kind of those low-level primitives you seldom use directly. Yeah. So let's see. Editor, prefix, no wait, create frame, reuse frame. Got it. All right. So you can't really like... Oh, excuse me. Set the working directory, I think, whenever you run it. So it's not the same. You would have to eval some Emacs Lisp code to put things in the right place. Which at that point seems a little bit like a pain. I guess you could have a script that could run some arbitrary stuff. Fortnite uses STM. That was the main reason they made Verse. Yeah, Tim Sweeney likes to do a lot of deep programming stuff, and somehow it all works at scale. I don't know. Kudos to him. He's a super programmer. I am no longer anything close to a super programmer. I'm just a super prompter. But I'm still crafting. I'm crafting lots of stuff, okay? It's just I'm using a different tool to do it. I've been pumping out a ton of things. Make some crypto libraries for Sigil and get it to make Sigil coin. Well, I have a crypto library, but it's only for, facilitating TLS. Living in the edge, but building stuff too. I'm building the time, man. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of things being built, and it's. You can say it's slop in a house of cards, but it works. Sigil editor coming soon. There's no point. I don't use an editor almost ever now. So like, what's the point of having a Sigil editor? This is what I'm learning through all this. The more that you kind of embrace using agentic coding, the less you need a lot of the stuff that you were doing before. I mean, like, obviously I'm still using, a computer. I'm using Linux, using Guix, but I'm not using an editor anymore. Only for like reviewing files, but I'm not using it for the other stuff that I was using it for in the past, like dealing with Git status and stuff. I mean, why do I need to do that anymore? I don't write commit messages anymore. It does it all for me, which is not necessarily the greatest thing. But eventually, whenever the open models get better and they can do a lot of this stuff, then it won't be so bad, because at least you can have that capability on your machine and not be paying some corporation to give it to you. And they are getting better. I'm hearing really good things about Qwen 3 and is it Minimax? I think there's another one too that there's things that are being released that are getting pretty good. David says you've never had to debug anything. What do you mean never had to debug anything? I've debugged plenty of things. Chris says, I thought David would like programming. I do like programming, but I like building things more, okay? I like making things, and I am making things. It doesn't mean that I have to make it with my own fingers, necessarily. From Mistral. Yeah, Mistral, I haven't really used their models at all. I tried using Qwen 3, and I think my computer wasn't beefy enough for the one with enough parameters to actually do a good job with agentic coding. Like a 27B or something. It didn't really work well for me. It was very slow to start up. Not really practical for agentic coding, because you're constantly it's constantly doing things. So you want it to be able to respond relatively quickly. While doing agentic coding, you've never had to debug anything. Well, not really, because it does it for me. In fact, I would say that LLMs through the agentic harness, or the agent harness, let's say, do such a good job of actually debugging things that it does better than me and faster than me. Now, that doesn't mean it arrives to the correct conclusions or come up with the right solutions to what it debugs a lot of times, but it does pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. It knows how to pull up all the right things to do the debugging, even when working with web apps. If you have the Claude, the built-in Chrome MCP server for Claude, and you have the extension in Chrome, it can debug your website if you wanted to, or the Chrome DevTools MCP server. Like pretty much any kind of program you could write, so long as there's a way to debug it with a command line app or some kind of interface, it could do a better job of debugging it than you can. Faster anyway. Now, sometimes there are like intuitive leaps that a human being can have that you kind of know what the problem is, and the LLM kind of has to like investigate some before it gets to it. But I would say most times it does a better job than I would. Have I tried the Emacs Code Assistant LLM integration? I've tried a couple, but I don't know. Like, I feel like you need a crafted interface for that, something that actually does it well. And right now, Claude Code is the best interface for that, in my opinion. However, it keeps changing constantly, so you kind of have to relearn it every few weeks. Trev says it probably can't fix the slowness of Geeks poll. Yeah. Not so easily. I think that's like by design, effectively. So it's not going to get any better, especially if they, complete rewriting the daemon, the Geeks daemon in Guile instead of whatever it's written in now. I think it would be even slower. Now, rewriting Geeks in Sigil, that's a possibility. But not necessarily to be like Geeks, not to be Geeks, to be like Geeks, and to use it on other distros, potentially. Who knows? That's kind of ridiculous. How about you want to have a Geeks-like management interface on top of OpenBSD, perhaps? That could be possible. Not today, but maybe. Who says there's no way corps are going to keep paying engineers programmer level pay when all they're doing is prompting everything? That's correct, Fubru. The clock is ticking. Clock is ticking. And that's why I said last time, it's better for people to start learning how to use these tools now instead of hating them and wanting to avoid them, because eventually you're either going to have to be using them all the time, or you're not going to be working as a programmer, because they're all going to expect people to be using them. And there are going to be many fewer people on development teams, I think, because of the fact that a single person can do a lot more. Peter says, if they don't pay, they can do it themselves. Where's my popcorn? Yeah, if they don't pay. The executives at your company right now are the wheels are turning in their mind. I could do all this myself. Muad'Dib says, how do you learn them? By using them. That's the only way to learn them, is to use them. I'm sure you could watch videos and stuff. Read documentation, but the only way to learn something is to do it. Just try it for some things and see how it goes. That's the way to do it. All right, I got to get out of here. So yes, let me try not to end this on a dour note, talking about the future of the programming industry. It's fun to write code and to build things. Now, the nature of everything is changing now because of LLMs, etc., and that's something we have to contend with. But I would argue that it can be rather fun to build things with an LLM, even if you have a feeling of guilt that you're not writing it yourself. So probably a good idea to experiment with it just to see how it goes. It will blow your mind at first, and you'll probably wonder why you're doing this and have a crisis of faith, trying to understand where you fit in the grand scheme of things. But I don't know, better just to try to use it as a tool and see what you can do with it. And maybe what you'll find is that you can build things that you have always wanted to do and you never really had time to do them. And who knows what happens after that? Maybe good things happen. Who knows? Nicolas says, what do you see as the future of operating systems in the future world where AI is reshaping what's possible with different UX, or maybe the implementation details matter less? Well, I don't really know, but what I kind of see right now is that LLMs can do a pretty good job of system administration. So if you give it a simpler interface, like go closer back to the original ideas of Unix, let's say, or just use a distro like Slackware or OpenBSD or whatever, where everything is just files, without all these interfaces and everything, then it can just manage that for you. You don't really need to have all this extra stuff on top, okay? I think that a lot of this extra stuff on top was just added to make really complicated user interfaces possible, and like user environments. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of complexity that's needed because humans are interacting with things, and if an LLM is interacting with it, it could be simpler. I don't know. Peter says, code will become orders of magnitude less valuable. A new product can be copied in days, weeks. Yeah, that's basically what I was saying last time, is that software has no value anymore. Only very specific kinds of software have value, but in general, software has no value. Business processes have value. Connections to people in industries have value. Niche domain expertise has value, but software itself doesn't have a whole lot of value. There you go. That's it. Okay. Trev says, people will be waiting in lines for my artisan E-list configs like they do for handcrafted wood furniture. They might, who knows? I think that could be a thing. Winnie says software only has value when it's coupled with useful hardware. Yeah, when it's something tangible, for sure. All right, so I hope you all enjoyed this little journey into the world of pop-ups and Tmux. I'm definitely going to put some of this stuff in my configuration because I think that it's going to be quite useful. Hopefully you think so too. Visit says, that's pretending software had value to begin with. It's always been about those other things you mentioned, data, domain expertise. Yes, but still, you can sell software because someone can't make it themselves. I think that's kind of the thing. Is like you have a piece of software that does a process for you, that does something for you that you can't make it yourself. So you pay money to someone to get that that pre-made solution for you. But if you have an LLM that can do many things for you or make software for you, then you don't really need to pay someone else for that software anymore. That's the point. Anyway, hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you all for your time and attention as usual. Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'll see what people have to say about that. But until next time, happy hacking. We'll see you.